nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
This is an old story, and it's always been in the back of my mind, and I wanted to go ahead and do it because this happened back in 2015. The original article that I had, I couldn't find it because it had pictures and everything. And his father and his stepmother, those two demons, the things that they did to this little boy, the only grace that was given was the fact that he passed on and he didn't have to deal with it anymore. Now it says here, in the fall of 2015, the murder of 7-year-old Adrian Jones shocked the nation. It was so bad. I wanted to do a video on this, but I could not get through the video because reading everything that happened, I was a mess. A mess. And it says his scattered remains have been discovered in a pig pen near Kansas City, Kansas, home that his family was renting. His father, Michael Jones, and stepmother, Heather Jones, had fed his remains in an attempt to conceal his murder. So, how did an innocent little boy who once loved football meet such a gruesome demise? The day before the grim discovery in the pen, police were called to the house that Adrian shared with his father, stepmother, and 6 siblings. The family lived in a rented home in the 5200 block of North 99th Street. The police were there for a domestic disturbance call. Michael was charged with aggravated battery and assault. While there, police discovered that Adrian had been missing for several months. They noticed that surveillance cameras were set up all through the house. There were a total of 30 cameras overlooking the angles of the home. It was soon uncovered that these cameras had captured the unimaginable abuse endured by Adrian, resulting in his death. These images depicted Adrian's last few months on Earth as absolute living hell. When Adrian wasn't being beaten with fists or objects such as a broomstick, he was locked behind a plywood door in a shower. Some days he would be forced to stand for hours in stagnant water in a swimming pool up to his neck. He was constantly shackled, handcuffed, and bound, and was systematically starved. He was frequently strapped to an inversion table and forced to stand outside in the freezing cold, where he would sometimes even be forced to sleep. Some days, Adrian would be stunned with a stun gun for up to 20 seconds. In some photographs found on the couple's laptop, Adrian had cutting boards strapped to his front and back, forcing him to stand straight. One photograph showed a close up of his shredded and bloody lips, caused by him attempting to chew out of the plywood prison. In one photograph, Adrian was handcuffed with his hands above his head. One photograph showed Adrian standing naked in the shower stall on what would have been one of the last days of his life. His teeth were rotten due to malnutrition, and his eyes were sunken into his face. In a video recording, Adrian is being taunted with a plate of food. His hands are restrained, and a bar of soap has been stuffed in his mouth. They would put the bar so far in his mouth and set the food down there. He was so hungry, but it was a way they could walk away and know that he couldn't eat because the bar was so far up in there. And Adrian's grandmother Judy Conway, which is a colorless woman. In another video, Adrian can be seen standing shackled on a cold winter evening. He's shivering with each breeze. He's trying desperately to drink from a cup with his wrist bound behind his back. Heather often posted her frustration in dealing with Adrian on Facebook account, even alluded to killing him. In one post, Jones made a reference to an episode of The Walking Dead where a character shoots a child in the back of the head while telling her to look at the flowers. She said, "Walking Dead, look at the pretty flowers. Yeah, I'm about to pull that shit." She wrote on Christmas Day of 2014. "I can't shoot him, unfortunately, but I can work the shit out of him till I feel better." Unfortunately, Adrian starved to death. Alarms had been placed on the fridge and food cupboards so that if there were ever a time where Adrian wasn't constrained, he couldn't steal food. Police were led to his body by Heather, who confessed that he had died in the home on the 28th of September. She said that following his death, Michael went out to purchase several pigs. Even in death, Adrian received no dignity when his body was thrown to the pigs to eat. Adrian suffered immeasurable torture and abuse for such a prolonged period that it begs to question, how didn't anyone notice? As it soon transpired, people did know. Adrian himself had even pleaded for help. 2 years before his death, Adrian told a Missouri Children's Division worker and a police officer that his dad would kick him so hard in the back of his head that a little bone came out, and that my dad keeps hitting me in the head and punching me in the stomach, and my mom pulls my ears and it really hurts. He said that he was locked in his bedroom and was never fed. The Children's Division found by a preponderance of evidence that Adrian had been neglected in July of 2013. However, he wasn't removed from his home due to the fact that they allegedly found no signs of physical abuse, which is bullshit. The child welfare system attempted to provide intense in home services to his family, but within just weeks, the family stopped attending the appointments and refused to cooperate. They told the child welfare system that their main residence was now in Kansas and their services were no longer required. The child welfare system in Kansas was no stranger to the Jones family either. When the Jones family moved, Missouri Child Welfare sent Kansas Child Welfare a report about the family and their concerns. It's unknown if Kansas followed up. However, it was later revealed that the Kansas Child Welfare received 10 phone calls in regards to the evident abuse that was taking place in the Jones household in the run up to Adrian's murder. One caller reported that the mom beats the living daylight out of the kids for no reason. Another caller said that Heather had been beating Adrian and had even choked him, while another said that Adrian was eating out of the trash. Each time they investigated the report, however, they found nothing was awry, even despite the fact that Adrian had told them he was abused. But they give a fuck about the children. Everybody involved, the evil, soulless ass stepmother, the degenerate, deviant demon and devil, his father, and the so called people that care about the fucking kids so much. It's disgusting. But during one visit to the home, Adrian told them he was forced to sleep outside and stole food from the trash. During another visit, he said his father and stepmother were mean to him and he would be locked up in a closet at night. Nevertheless, nothing was done and this nightmare continued. All that stuff Adrian was saying. Why did they not pull those kids out of the house? Michael pleaded guilty to avoid going to trial when he knew that the grisly details surrounding his son's death would be revisited. He was sentenced to life in prison. His wife, Heather, also pleaded guilty and was sentenced to life in prison. That's not good enough. They deserve the death penalty. In 2018, Missouri created a bill to help the state track families that move across state lines to avoid child welfare officials. Senator Curtis sponsored a amendment which gave the Missouri Child Division more flexibility to share abuse records across state lines as part of a larger bill that would make it more difficult for parents to conceal abuse. The Missouri Senate passed the bill and sent it to the House for consideration anyway. They deserved the death penalty. They tortured and murdered him. There was so much hatred for this child. She was not his mother, that was his father, and the child's mother did not have him. Colorless woman. They just let this go on. I mean, the grandmother, I can't really blame her because she doesn't have as much rights as the mother does. And every adult in his life failed him. And they all should be held accountable. And I hope that they get the karma that they deserve. I don't want to hear about state workers who they don't know what's going on. If they're starving him and he's supposed to be a certain weight, you rescue the boy and take him out of this situation. But then, had this been a black woman, I presume, it would have been a whole different thing. There was a whole situation about a black woman who was in the hospital and they wanted to take her infant child, but they couldn't take this poor boy out of that home. If somebody is kicking and beating and abusing a child, they have scars and marks on them. If he's experiencing malnutrition to this point, you can see it. They didn't give a fuck. They didn't care. But, oh my God, abortions. Oh my God, the peel, the morning after peel, and all of that. Who the wants to bring a child in this world? And all of this, from the child marriage, the ex-tourism, the abuse, the trafficking, all of what's going on. And the fact that, let's say that some children are born into a home with some monsters like this, That child has no protection. That child is just going to suffer and die. That's why I said it was so hard, because they had even more pictures. They showed the photographs that they found of him having these boards taped on him being shackled. And then you saw him in the water at night and it's cold. They were so soulless and so wicked that they made him sleep outside out at night. He was naked. They wanted to crush this little boy, just break him. What the hell are you that you can do that? Like I said, they don't deserve life in prison. They deserve to be tortured. That's the only silver lining. I hope that there is someone in that penitentiary that tortures them the way they tortured this poor child. But I'll go ahead and leave it right here. Let me know what you think of this story. Had you heard of this story? And I'll see you in the next one.